As we like to do, we are hanging down with current columnist Dan Haar this morning. Didn't think somebody could be fired twice from the same job, sort of. I'll say sort of because Hartford has fired Center Plan again, this time from the Downtown North Development Project, which is separate from Dunkin Donuts Park, which they were fired from earlier, I guess. But is this really a firing? I don't know what to make of this.
You can't fire me.
Yeah.
I fired you.
Right. Where have we heard that stuff before?
I think on vaudeville. I think we all, Borscht Belt, I think we all would have thought that Center Plan was already out as the master developer because of the 2 years of acrimonious lawsuits, or I guess all lawsuits are acrimonious. $90 million they're seeking, and now there's a countersuit. But in any case, they're out now as the developer, and so we're going to wait and see what happens next. But I would not, if I were the viewer, blame everything on the fact that we can't get along with the developer.
Okay.
As far as that's
there's a larger issue.
Well, there certainly is. And there certainly is, Oliver, and it's called demand. Right now, I doubt whether even if we had a full working partnership with a master developer at that site, we would be looking at the construction that had been planned 4 years ago or 3 years ago, because the demand here is just not there. We don't have people coming in. That's the problem.
Which brings us to our next topic.
Yes, it does.
Jobs. What do we have on that? What do we have with people coming into the state, leaving the state? I get some mixed numbers, but overall not a great picture.
Jobs are flat. We have yet to have a really good post-recession year. I think we had one in 2012 or 13, but we've really not had a sustained recession, post-recession growth era. That's the problem. Jobs are flat. Pratt & Whitney is doing great. That's holding up the Hartford area economy. You got electric boat. You got some things happening, which are not bad. We're not in a terrible funk, but it's flat. And other states around us, namely Massachusetts, are not flat. And the reason is because of the big cities, Brooklyn, New York, Boston. They're attracting people, and we know that. Bright spot, Connecticut in the last year or so starting to attract some people in their 20s. That's a good thing. Maybe going forward, that's going to help the economy.
These are more like sea change problems. I feel like Connecticut profited as a suburban haven when big cities weren't attractive to people for crime and whatever reason. Now it's come full circle.
Well, that's right. And the two theories, theory number one is we're going to come all the way down before we go back up again. Theory number two is in just 5 short years, a 25-year-old becomes a 30-year-old, and they want the same suburban houses that our generation did.
All right, let's talk about Hartford specifically. Our one big city, or one of the big cities in Connecticut, declaring for bankruptcy, at least as a possibility. Is it a possibility or is it an inevitability?
Well, it's not inevitable because what is inevitable is some type of reorganization. And a reorganization can happen in court or out of court. A court bankruptcy is not inevitable. What is inevitable is something bigger than a state bailout of $40 million. That's not going to do it. Everybody's waiting for the legislature to reach an agreement and shine $40 million more on Hartford, and we go on our merry way. And I think the Hartford City Council is out to lunch on this, based on what we saw last night. They simply don't get it as a council.
You're saying that would just be kicking the can down the road, a $40 million can down the road?
More and more and more, and because what happens is that the costs and the debts keep going up. And until you can get some type of restructuring agreement with bondholders and givebacks from the police and city hall unions and a sustained state, not bailout, but a sustained higher rate of state giving to Hartford, it's not going to work.
So would it be fair to say, in the absence of getting all those different groups to give back, you file Chapter 9 bankruptcy? That gives you a fair amount, being that they're a municipality, of some constitutional protections where now these other groups are just being forced to take a certain number of pennies on the dollar.
Correct, and that's what bankruptcy does. Obviously, the downside is it's a big bad black eye, and it sets you back for optically in the nation and the rest of the state. And the state itself has more to lose by Hartford declaring than the city, because it's not like people are flocking into the city. Now, even the state of Connecticut, we're losing people, but you still have 100,000 people a year, or 80, moving in. You have a higher number moving out. But where are you going to get those people moving in if they say, oh, the capital city is in bankruptcy? So that's the game, and it's not a game. And something big has to happen beyond this state bailout. I think that's really a point that's lost on a lot of people in Hartford.
Real quick, can we look at what happened with Detroit when it filed for Chapter 9 and sort of get some lessons there?
Yes, Detroit, the big picture answer is Detroit was a lot more broken than Hartford is now. Detroit had a lot less options. By the time it filed in July of 2013, they were so far gone that there was no other option.
Okay, interesting. There are no great options, I don't think, at this point, and that's the hard part. I think you're still looking for the optimal solution, and the optimal solution certainly ain't going to look optically like an optimal solution. Thank you so much.
Correct.
Good to see you again.
Have a good week.
A pleasure.
All right.
All right, Erica, let's send it over to you.